Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules on the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Sleeping Warrior. Let's just transition across to him. Hopefully we've got Sleeping Warrior with us. How are you doing?
Am I here?
You are here, yes. Everything working as it should.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very well. I pretty much only just walked in maybe an hour ago. Been down celebrating my mother's 70th birthday. Happy days.
Coinciding with Mother's Day as well. 2 for 1, eh?
Indeed. It was actually last week, but we didn't go because of the snow. So it was her birthday last week, but she got all of her presents in the post, which is a bit rubbish for a 70th birthday, but snow is snow.
I bet they were all late as well.
No, they all got there on time. Well, mine did. I don't know about anyone else's, mine certainly did. You can't have a late 70th birthday present.
Where's... Arwin should be out of bed now, shouldn't he?
Out of bed? I should hope so.
Come on, Arwin, are you coming in? He must be out there somewhere.
Chat out a few people in the chat. Oxy, good to have you. Effie Viking, nice to see you. Netty Voyager, hello. Jim Morrison, good to see you. Ute, hello. John Watson says oi oi. Oi oi to you too, John Watson. Roger MC, thanks for being here. Flatastic, good to see you. Nummy Num, hello. Good to have you. And everyone else. I can't be bothered to scroll back through, so I'll say Karen P. Coltrane, hello. Stop in traffic in my Rasta hat. Says yo Nathan. Yo to you too, stop in traffic in my Rasta hat. Haven't done shout outs for a while. People apparently like shout outs, so shout outs there shall be. So did you miss me yesterday?
I'm just having something to eat, so I'm gonna kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Did I miss... Not missed you, I just missed the abuse from the chat.
Oh, thanks a bunch. I missed the show, I've got to be honest. I get withdrawal symptoms if I don't do a debate every day.
I was speaking to Mark Doxey, the guy that did the other side of the Isle of Man observation.
Ah, yes, Mark.
We were trying to go over the that claim of land unknown. And basically, it doesn't match either ball Earth or flat Earth. It's weird.
Which one's that?
You know, the guy that took the one that Jamie Brown found. And
you're saying that's Mark's observation, though, isn't it? From several years ago.
No, the one that me and Mark were looking at, the one that Jamie Brown mirrored. And the one that Jamie Brown mirrored is the guy that was at Formby and at Crosby. And when he was at these 2 late locations, he claimed he could see Landudno at 50 miles. Now, I've been speaking to, what's his name? Rue Hiff. And Rue Hiff is adamant that he's not seeing Landudno. He's adamant that he's seeing Great Orme and only Great Orme. But he's not. He is seeing Landudno, but none of it matches up. And the only bit I can conclusively say is, well, I can see where Great Orme is. I can't see specifically whether it's Puffin Island and or others. But we're definitely seeing Landudno because there's too much. Again, it's like the Isle of Man. There's too much land in the image. And it doesn't make sense for it not to be Landudno, given that there's only really one place that we can identify. So I'll come through with that in a sec.
Is that the one where you've got to tie it down to a particular car parking space or something?
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I do remember now.
So we might revisit that. But do you remember my first video on this channel? It was a challenge to Soundly, because Stanley managed to get himself onto Globebusters, talking about Pontchartrain and stuff. And Bob made a comment about how the eye is a lot more accurate than a camera. And Stanley made a claim that the eye is able to resolve a single candle flame from 30 miles. Now, 30 miles is as far away as Blackpool Tower. And I know from Hoy Lake, there ain't no chance in hell you are going to see, with the naked eye, a single candle flame. It's too far. It's too small. You're never going to see it. Never. Not even with a P900 on full zoom. You're never going to see it. It's just nonsense. So my first video was a call out, shouting out and saying, come on, where's the evidence for it? Well, yesterday, if we'd have gone live yesterday, I have an article which I'll bring up on screen. If I share my screens for a sec. And then click this, not that one. Where is it? That one. Are we on?
Yep.
We have we have how far away can you see a candle? This is published yesterday on the Daily Mail. So 30 no, that's not the one. Hang on a sec.
The Daily Mail.
I got this yesterday, and when I checked this, when I read it originally, it was done on that day. So
Whose is the study though?
Forget
who published it. Who's done this study?
That's weird. It's a university in Texas. I think it was in.
Okay.
Texas A&M University, right?
Okay.
And basically, they found that a candle would only need to be 1.6 miles before it disappeared from view. It's too small. You can't see it. It's not small. It's not big enough to see. The findings suggest the scope of the human vision falls far short of the horizon caused by the curvature of the Earth, which occurs at around 3.1 miles. Well, we know that that's nonsense. Professor Christianakis, or whatever, and Mr. Corona said they were inspired to look at the problem after seeing several adverts for vitamins claiming that the human eye can detect a candle flame at 10 miles away. When they said that they looked on the internet to find the answer, they found distances from 3 to 30 miles were given. Right in a paper on this open science site, they said the human eye cannot detect a candle at 10 miles or further, as some statements on the web suggest. We have shown that a candle flame at roughly 2.6 kilometers would have an apparent brightness comparable to a 6th magnitude star, which is really, really dim. The brightest stars in our sky, such as Vega, the second brightest star in the northern hemisphere, has a magnitude of 0. Using astronomical digital cameras, the researchers found that a candle at a distance of around 1,200 feet would have the same brightness as Vega. However, to their own eyes, they found closer distances that candle flames appeared to be as bright as Vega, even when it was in fact more luminous. The eye, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, the whole point of the article is that we can only resolve a candle at 1.6 miles, a single candle flame. Now, Stanley claimed that you could see 30, and it's nonsense. Stanley's just basically regurgitated what he's read on the internet somewhere and passed it off as truth. And I thought there's absolutely, because the minute he said 30 miles, in my head I'm thinking Blackpool Tower from Hoy Lake, that's 30 miles away. There ain't no chance in hell he's seeing a single candle flame. So I called him on it, and obviously I got not a single response from it. He will have seen it, but he ignored it because it's on the internet, so it's therefore true. But in the real world, there's no way in hell, there's not a cat in hell's chance that you're going to see a single candle flame from 30 miles. The most we can see it, apparently, is 1.6 miles. And even then, I'd question it because it's still a long way. But in any event, this is what the claim now is. But I just found it interesting that they had a candle. They were talking about the curvature of the Earth at 3.1 miles, which I found was nonsense. But, you know, it is what it is.
Well, you know from personal experience. So it is nonsense based on your own personal experience.
Correct. So we know that that's a nonsense claim. However, they've done the maths on it and said that we can't get anything more than 1.6 miles, which I still think is high. But what I'm going to do is do a bit of fill for me while I get rid of some food because I've got to have tea. Because I've not had anything all day and I'm withering away, you see. And I'll come back to you in a couple of minutes when I've got rid of the hot stuff because a lot of it's salad, rabbit food.
No worries.
Tell us about where you've been then and what you've been up to.
Dorset, South Coast. A couple of hours drive for me, not very far. Everywhere's a couple of hours from me, if I'm honest. But yeah, it's been nice. She went to a restaurant, had some food, celebrated a birthday, celebrated Mother's Day, drove home. Yeah, I don't normally stop in a hotel, but it was nice to have a couple of days with them. Good to spend some time with the family. And you enjoyed it too, didn't you, little munchkin? Yeah, it was nice. No complaints. But as I say, you get a bit of withdrawal and 100 messages from people saying, "Are you doing a debate today?" And you're like, "Well, yeah, I probably will."
And I guess half of them that messaged you then messaged me after they didn't get a response immediately. So I was getting it too.
Fair enough. It's like you can't do it every single day. You know, life does have to interject. I still did an update yesterday, so I still put out a video. So at least people got to hear, you know, I'm not doing a debate today, but yesterday we spent, I'm sure it was 7 hours we spent yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I should say, going through what Ranty had caught. Because I was just in stunned amazement, and every time I tried to debunk it, I failed. And, you know, obviously you want to put this stuff out there having at least scrutinised it to a certain extent yourself. And in this instance, I thought, well, no, let's just thoroughly scrutinise it. And you were there, you know, you were not really interjecting as much as you normally do. You just seemed to be listening, but you could obviously hear me and Ranty going back and forth with me going, no, it's this closer stuff. No, it's not. It's this closer stuff. And him going, can't be. And, you know, me getting frustrated because I'm convinced that the camera can't see as far as Ranty thinks it can see, but the evidence is there. You know, I can't deny what's on the pictures, but it just frustrates me, you know, when I can't seem to, you know, it just seems to beg a belief how far he's seeing.
And he even had said it wasn't a particularly clear day.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me the most. You just think, okay, if it's a not very clear day, then you can't see as far. So I don't know. It's perplexing. Like I said on the update, I'm hoping that we can put this out to people like GeoStreamer, who can just go straight to Peak Finder and work his magic and just go, here you go. Here's the landscape. This is what you're looking at, because he is looking at it, and we can't seem to find it on Peak Finder. You know, either we're just totally inexperienced or inept with Peak Finder, or we're correct and this stuff shouldn't be seen. You know, it's one or the other.
Well, the thing is, the further away something gets, the smaller it gets, right? That's simple rules of perspective. But what that actually means in real world, nobody can really calibrate in their mind, because this is the reason why a lot of people, well, it doesn't matter. When something goes far enough away, it gets small enough that you can't see it, right? It kind of converges with the horizon. It gets squashed onto the horizon. It becomes the horizon, which really is a vanishing point. It's not actually a hard line of where the curvature of the Earth starts. It's the point where things can no longer be seen. But if it's big enough, you'll see it. And that appears to be what it appears to be happening. But the reason why I wasn't interjecting too much is because I was looking at what he was doing. And basically, it was all supporting each other. All the points he was catching up on, or he was making each point that he would go to, I was looking at it and I was thinking, right, well, if this is right, then the next bit of land will go up. And then sure enough, it went up. And I was like, right, okay, well, if this is right, the next bit of land will go up a bit more and then drop, and then it'd do it. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking each time he's doing it, it's validating itself. And I'm thinking, for this to be wrong overall, there's got to be a fail at somewhere, and it'll have to be an obvious fail. And every time we move to a new point, put a new line in, it did appear to be supporting it. And I'm thinking what you're thinking. I'm thinking this is nonsense. This is too good to be true. But I'm also realizing that he's getting things to line up. And you can't dismiss something if it matches, right? You can dismiss it if it doesn't match. But each time he was doing it, and I don't know what your interpretations were, but each time he was doing it, it was a match for me. And I couldn't say that there was stuff. I mean, sure, there were little bits that I thought maybe not. But on the other hand, the vast majority of it was right. And the bits that weren't, in my eyes, right, they were close as damn it. And given that we know that Google Earth's not necessarily accurate, we also know that it can be inaccurate. I'm just wondering how the parallax thing works, because on such a distance, if things are beginning to look like they match and then you get a little bit that's not out, then your mind compensates for that and says, well, everything else up to this point's been pretty accurate and the next bit's accurate. So perhaps this is just a difference in parallax that's really, really difficult to map three-dimensionally. I don't know, but my interpretation of it was that principally and fundamentally, he was getting things lined up, and they were lining up. I mean, did you think that they were lining up?
Yeah, it seemed to be lining up. I'm not going to lie about what I was seeing, but it just, you know, when you've been led astray once by something like Google Earth, and you're kind of really apprehensive about what you're looking at, just for all the reasons you've just given. You look at it and go, yeah, it looks right, it smells right, tastes right, it's all in the right place, but there's got to be something wrong here. I mean, I'll just explain for the audience's benefit. What Ranty has done is he's gone to a point on the beach and looked through some piers, and we've presented this already. And the stuff is very close to having gone behind the curve of the Earth, but we've still left with 200 or 300 metres of mountain, etc., etc. We've got a valley that should be on the horizon in the globe Earth and isn't. And we've said, well, it's very, very close to being gone completely. And he's gone, well, do you want me to go further back and just see if I can catch it from further back? And we've gone, yeah, of course. So that's precisely what he's done. He's gone about 7 miles further down, just down the road, and just gone on to a different point and looked back at exactly the same mountains, which are colossal in terms of what they look like on a super zoom camera. And sure enough, the exact same view is viewable from 7 miles away. Shock horror. But then you go to put the exact location into Peak Finder, and there's nothing there. Like, literally nothing there. And you go, okay, so Peak Finder says there's nothing there, but there's these great big mountainscapes that we're looking at, and we can't line them up with Peak Finder like you'd normally just do because they're not supposed to be there. So you go, well, okay, this kind of makes sense because it is a flat Earth, and you can see them from 7 miles further up the beach and match up the, quote, peaks with the actual mountains that you're seeing. So why the hell would it make any difference if you go 7 miles back? But then, in terms of what Peak Finder presents, it makes a world of difference. So then you're left with, okay, well, we've got nothing else to go by. Let's go by Google Earth. Let's see if we can match it up from there. And he draws the same sight lines in, pretty much, as he was drawing in from the point that he was 7 miles further up the beach when he was looking underneath the pier. And he's drawing in the same sight lines to the same mountains. But I'm scratching my head going, this can't be right. This can't be right. It's a huge distance. Surely not. But they're massive mountains, so you think, well, why not? You know, they are pretty huge, and they are greyed out by a lot of cloud, and they are starting to fade to nothing. He's having to mess with the resolution and the colour saturation and all these things to get it so that you can actually see them. But you can see them. There they are. Which makes me think that on a clear day, they'll just be exactly the same view, but a bit clearer. That makes sense, because they're big things that he's looking at. But nonetheless, you go to Peak Finder, you plug in the data, and they've gone. They're not even there. So that's why I said on the update, it seems too good to be true. And, you know, as much as I'm trying and going, okay, there's got to be a more logical reason for this. There's got to be something they can pull out of their hat to debunk us with. Because there they stand, these huge mountains, and they shouldn't be there. So there you go. There's where we're up to. And like I say, hours and hours and hours of Ranty drawing in sight lines on Google Earth. Because he can line it up really nicely. He's got all these wind farms that he can tie down to within an inch. Because that's where they are. And he's, you know, they haven't moved, so he can really put in tight sight lines and match up exactly which direction he's looking at. And as Anthony says, he draws a line to these mountains, and there's slightly lower, slightly nearer mountains in the foreground, but they just don't seem to match. And as much as I want to force them to match and go, no, you're only seeing 40 miles, it's these nearer mountains you're looking at, doesn't seem to match. It seems to be the stuff that's further away that he's seeing. And you can't really argue when he puts in these lines and you look along the sight line and go, yeah, that looks like what you're looking at, but surely not. Surely not. It's just too far.
Shout out to Karen being she's lurking in chat. She won't speak, but she's listening. But what I spoke to what's his name, GeoStreamer, about this, and he said, do you know that you can change your elevation height? And I didn't know that. And he was telling me that when he does observations, he can see stuff on Peak Finder that he can see stuff in real world that Peak Finder's not there. So he has to change the elevation height. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, if I change the elevation height, then I can identify the mountains. And I'm like, so hang on a minute. You're telling me that you can see mountains that don't appear on Peak Finder until you change your elevation. I said, does that not cause you a problem psychologically? He said, no, it's obviously a problem with the software. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I can't see very much when I'm at 0. He said, I have to lift the camera up, the observer height up to see it. I'm like, dude, if you can see it in the real world and you're at 0 feet or whatever, then you are not on a ball. Does that not cognitively cause you a dissonance issue? He seemed to flip it off like it was a software.
Hey, Fireball, can you say hello? Or are you just going to immediately kick everybody? Sure enough, he's kicked the only guest immediately. I'm sure these guys do it just to cause me 5 minutes of work. Ugh. There will be a short intermission while I fire up a different hangout. I'll fire up the Battlefield hangout. Got these various different names. But I've given all these various sort of overlay hangouts because no one actually gets into the hangouts run by OBS, so it's just an empty hangout. But so that I can fire them up quickly, I've got pre-made ones. One's called Flat Earth Debate Battlefield. Okay. So I'll wait about 5 minutes before I stick the public link out again. Hello again.
Disruption minimized.
Exactly. Well, I'll wait 5 minutes before I put the link out public again this time. I'll just share it in Skype for the time being.
What I'll do is I'll send the link to Mark Doxey because he was online about 10 minutes ago.
It's work, isn't it? People are a pain in the ass when they do that. Thank you, Fireball. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, so my point then, I was saying, GeoStreamer says that he regularly finds it. And I'm like, does that not cause you a cognitive issue? In that he has to change his elevation by X amount of feet. Otherwise, he can't see these things. That's a problem. That really is a strong indicator that the Earth's not a ball, because you have to compensate for the curvature of the Earth on the Peak Finder app to be able to see stuff. That makes no logical sense. But he didn't see that as an issue. He saw it as, it's obviously a software issue. And I'm like, a software issue that you're expecting us to rely upon?
Well, yeah, it is a software issue. The issue is that the software thinks it's a ball.
No, I get that, but he saw it as a software issue, as in it was a mild error. And I'm like, no, Geo, it's because we don't live on a ball that you don't need to change your elevation hugely to see these things. That in itself is a flat Earth proof, and he didn't even realize it. It's ridiculous.
Well, you're dealing with cognitive dissonance. You got it right first time. He doesn't lack critical thinking, does he?
He doesn't have it.
He does. Oh, you can't accuse GeoStreamer of not having critical thinking. I would say he does have critical thinking. He's looking at things critically. How much more do you want? But he's still got cognitive dissonance. There's certain things bias. He blocks out.
You're describing bias. You're not describing critical thinking. Bias is where you only see the one side of the argument that you prefer. Critical thinking is where you critique the side that you're on to see whether it's valid or not. So he's not applying it against his own model. He's only applying a bias in favor of his model. That's not critical thinking.
But biased critical thinking isn't critical thinking. Is that what you're saying?
A biased, yeah, he's got a biased opinion. That's not critiquing his own position. So no, I wouldn't agree. He's able to critically think. He can challenge. He's good at articulating challenge, but he's not good at critical thinking. I don't think he's got it at all. The fact that you've got to change your elevation up is an issue.
Yeah, I had to have this conversation today with my niece, who's only very young, but by the same token, she was basically saying, she believed something. I couldn't remember what. And I was like, well, why do you believe that? And she was like, because I saw it on TV. I was like, well, do you believe that there's flying dinosaurs like in your cartoons? And she was like, no, but they're cartoons. The guy on the news said it. I was like, just because the guy on the news said it doesn't necessarily make it true. And then I held up we were in a swimming pool, and she held up this float, and it was blue on one side, yellow on the other. And I held up the blue side and said, this is red. And she went, no, it isn't. I said, yeah, but I've just told you it's red. And she said, well, yeah, but I know it's blue. I said, well, how do you know it's blue? She said, because I've looked at it, and I can see that it's blue. I said, right, but if I was on TV and I damn well told you, and I'm older and more experienced, that it's red, would you believe me now? And she said, no. I said, well, how is that any different to anything else they tell you on the news? And she was like, I said, well, that's, you've got to think for yourself. You can't necessarily just accept anything that people tell you just because they're in a position of authority or on the bloody news. But there we go. That's, you know, people are pre-programmed to accept everything that's on the news. The news says it's a globe. BBC spins a globe, and you accept it's a globe.
And obviously, a real-world example of that would be the Hillsborough disaster. The Hillsborough disaster killed 96 football fans when Liverpool played an FA Cup semi-final over in Sheffield. And basically, it was never on the news to say that all the fans were innocent. It never said that the fans were victims. It said that the fans caused it, and it was down to being drunk and not having tickets and too many people outside the stadium. It took 20 odd years, before there was an official inquiry that actually produced the evidence that proved that it was nothing to do with the fans. It was bad management. It was bad policing on the day. And basically, the fans were victims. And once it went on the news to say that, people then accept it. People don't look at the Hillsborough disaster anymore and think it was the pickpocketed fans that were urinating on dead members of the urinating on the dead and pickpocketing the dead.
Hello, Arwen, is that really you?
Yes.
Oh, it must be. I've not put the link out. I'll put the link out now. It's been a good 5 minutes.
So now that it's been on the news, people now accept that the Hillsborough disaster was in fact a cover-up. But until it went on the news, people were just laughing at it. Well, not laughing at it, but people were like, yeah, people did die. However, was it actually the fans? People thought it was the fans because the newspapers and the television told them it was the fans. It actually took it to get onto the news to tell them that it was down to a government cover-up caused by Margaret Thatcher. That was the problem. And only at that point would people accept it. Despite all the evidence showing it was poorly managed. I mean, the stadium didn't even have a valid safety certificate. It was revoked the year before, yet the match still went ahead. I mean, that in itself is an issue that people just think, well, how big an issue is it? Well, can you imagine driving with no car license, right? It's going to be a bit of an issue if you have an accident. Same kind of thing. So you're going to get your fingers chopped off kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it has to go onto the news before people will consider it to be truth, which is the reason why 9/11 people accept it because they've seen it on TV. Well, 2 planes can't cause 3 buildings to collapse, right? We know that. We don't need to see it on TV to know that that's nonsense. Yeah, that's what they showed us on telly. 3 buildings collapsed. Well, there were actually like 4 or 5 buildings that collapsed, but 3 buildings that were like massive, that required like a huge amount of structural damage, and they only had 2 planes. People have a problem with that. People don't think that's an issue. And I'm like, come on, wake up.
Yeah, but you don't need to, even if you wake them up to the lies on the news, most of what I'm referring to in terms of the globe is subliminal. You know, most people don't pay the slightest bit of attention to the clock with the globe. They just see the time or see the countdown or whatever. I don't watch TV anymore. I've no idea what the BBC currently present, but I'm sure they've got a globe somewhere. You know, they will. I don't doubt that for a second, even though I don't watch. I'm certain of that fact because that's what they do. They put a globe out continually. It's always there.
Well, I think
Clearly
people are
none
so
of us are
badly
TV watchers,
indoctrinated by that which they see on TV. You could basically tell them anything on TV. Like there's a Tesla Roadster floating around in space and they'll believe it. I think it shows more about the lack of ability for people to think critically and the over trust that they get from stuff on TV. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's embarrassing that we live in a world where people can't distinguish reality from fiction. And I look at this Roadster thing and I think it's blatantly, obviously fake. Yet there are people that genuinely believe it. Red Rhetoric believes it. Well, I don't know whether he does or not, but he pushes it as truth anyway.
Yeah, it's just that it's a part of the language, though. You know, people talk globally.
I saw an article about a guy that claimed that he'd seen the Tesla Roadster floating around in space. And basically, he'd got some live to the minute telemetry data telling him where it was. So he got his camera, put the coordinates into it, and sure enough, there was this light floating around in the sky that wasn't on a perfectly straight line. It seemed to be floating. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You really think that you're looking at a Tesla car? Can't see the car, you can just see its little light. But he did honestly believe it. And I'm like, you have absolutely no way of knowing what you're looking at there. It's just a light. Could just be a firefly. You know what I mean? That's right on top of the lens. You do realise that you're clashing with globebusters, don't you?
Say again.
you do realise that you're clashing with globebusters.
I didn't give it a second thought.
Oh, they're starting
Sorry,
much later, right?
if you're missing Globebusters, 106 people. Tune into them if you're getting bored. Are you a TV watcher, Arwin?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh god. Although, yeah, I do sometimes check out what's happening on Dutch television, but yeah, it's moved on far beyond what I'm interested in. So, like, say 10 years ago, I would regularly watch TV, all kinds. But nowadays, yeah, I don't really have a television anymore, so I just have an internet site that has the standard Dutch channels, and I sometimes take a look, but yeah, most of it is just disgusting or like painfully filled with propaganda.
Oh, sorry, I need to interrupt. I was having a conversation with GeoStreamer offline, a text conversation, and he was telling me about something called the Etvos effect, which I knew about, but I thought the Etvos effect was to do with traveling up and down in a north and south direction. And basically, the claim is that the Etvos effect is that as you change your position relative to the spin of the Earth, your weight will change. You will get heavier as you go one way, you will get lighter as you go the other way, and it's a direct cause of centrifugal force. No, I thought it was north to south, because that would logically make sense to me that you could do that if you did it north to south, because as you went north, the centrifugal speed or the circumferential speed would be slower. Therefore, you should gain in weight because your centrifugal force that's being applied against you reduces. Therefore, you should get heavier. If you sit on the equator, you should be at your lightest. You should be at your heaviest at the North Pole because the centrifuge, that should be the position.
Yep.
Now, when he told me about this, I thought it was north to south, but he's actually told me about this, and according to him, it's east or west, not north to south. And I was like, "What are you on about? Surely, isn't it actually north to south?" And he was like, "No, you got it wrong." I said it doesn't make logical sense for it to be east to west.
That would be very weird. Then, like, the rotation of the Earth would be very different.
Well, given how slow they tell us it actually is, on the one hand, sometimes they say it's like 1,000 miles an hour, but you can't feel it because of relativity. And then other times, when it suits them, they'll say that it's so slow that you can't even detect it, right? This is what his response was. I said, it makes no sense that it's east to west, right? And he was like, no, it absolutely makes sense. And this is what he says, quote, "Let's say that you're on the equator. This is the simplest case. If you're on a spinning surface, there will be a centrifuge when you counteract gravity to a certain degree. But if you're moving in the opposite direction of the movement of the surface, the centrifuge will be less." And I said, so you think the rotational speed of the planet can be exaggerated with motion east over west? Utter nonsense. And he said, if you're moving east to west, there will be less centrifuge, and you will be able to measure that. Yo, P Mars.
Hey P, good to have you.
Hey guys.
That wouldn't work, I think.
No,
because the air would basically, well, it would definitely have to move against the rotation.
No.
Constant stream for that to be able to work like that, and it doesn't really.
Oh, we've been sniped.
Hey Jared, how you doing?
Doing good. Just like to correct you on something, Riley. The Etos effect is east to west.
Are you a moron or something? Are you a fucking moron?
Trollfest begins.
and it's not because you are static and move in that relation. So, what you were trying to describe is if you weigh yourself at one point, move east, weigh yourself again on the same latitude, you'll weigh different. That's not the Etos effect. It's if you weigh yourself while you are in motion, that is when the effect takes place.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. I haven't got to that point in the conversation yet. The next line, I said, so you think the rotational speed of the planet can be exaggerated with motion east over motion west? Utter nonsense. And the response was, if you're moving east to west, there will be less centrifuge force, and you will be able to measure that. If you have the same speed as the planet, but in the opposite direction, the centrifugal force will be completely gone, and you will only feel gravity. The difference is 0.34%, but it is measurable. And I said, utter nonsense. And he said, why do you think that does not make sense? I said, I understand your logic, but the slow rate of the spin of the Earth is not realistic. It is not realistic to think that it's measurable. I do agree, though. If you claim it's measurable, it would prove rotation around an axis. Off you go. And then obviously that's the challenge. If he thinks that this would prove that we are rotating, then I agree. If you point it east and west and you travel one way and then do the same experiment and travel the other way, you should negate and you should exaggerate centrifuge. I don't think it'll make any difference.
So, when I found out about flat Earth, maybe almost 2 years ago now, and today I weigh a lot less. Is that because of a placebo effect of me not believing in gravity?
No, the Earth slowed down just for you, P. I mean, I'm interested to know how you got on with John LeBon, because I listened to one of his podcasts and he was saying that you joined and, you know, kind of had a falling out with him to a certain extent. Yeah. So what happened?
Oh, I felt he was very rude to me. He just sat there and he tried to one-up me the entire time. And anytime I made a comment on anything, I had to provide all these sources and citations when it's pretty unreasonable to expect that of someone. You know, it's not like we had a topic that we had time to prepare for or anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't remember everything I read or listen to on a documentary off the top of my head and cite it perfectly. I'm not a computer. So he's just using these like cheap tactics to make me look bad, and I didn't appreciate it. So I told him that in a rude way.
Do you think it's unreasonable to ask for citations and proof of what you're asserting? Is that what you're saying? Because that sounds like what he was doing.
We were just having like a conversation, you know. We were just talking, and he was constantly doing it. Like any little thing I would say, like it was just to the point of being really annoying. And he was just doing it to like one up and try to make me look bad. And then he's like acting really arrogant for no reason. I think he's a dumb person, and he's illogical.
I mean, I find that interesting because Jamie Brown levelled the same criticism at Sleeping Warrior's feet because he asked for exactly the same thing. So he'd ask him for a citation or evidence, and when there was none, it was criticised as, I don't like this whole giving the evidence thing. But sounds slightly different because it sounds like you were reciting chapter and verse just without necessarily knowing the author or whatever.
I don't know, man. I provided evidence, but it's like there were certain things I talked about that I didn't have a source for. It's not like I didn't have a source or citation for anything I said. But you know, I don't know. I can't remember everything. That's all my point is. Like I can't. Sometimes I'm not prepared. You know, like I didn't know what we were going to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't just talking about flat Earth. We were talking about like vast amount of subjects. So I don't have like a file cabinet with all like the stuff I've researched on hand or anything like that. So I think it's kind of unreasonable to expect someone to be able to just remember everything verbatim and shit like that, which, excuse my French, is what he was doing. I think he was just trying to make me look bad, I guess. That's what I'm saying. I thought I didn't appreciate it.
Fair enough. But you were rude to him as a consequence. So you took the bait and was rude to him.
Yeah, he was basically baiting me to be rude to him, and I took the bait, whatever. Like, anyone who follows him is kind of dumb, in my opinion, because he says insane things like dinosaurs are a hoax, nukes are a hoax. He doesn't believe anything in history past, like, 80 years. He thinks no one died on 9/11. That's a joke.
Okay.
That's not what he says, though. He doesn't. I've never heard him say that. What I've heard him say is, I have not found evidence to suggest that people have died on 9/11. There may have been people who died on 9/11. I just can't find evidence for it. That's what he actually asserts. So I don't think he ever has asserted no one died on 9/11.
If that's what he asserts, that shows his poor research skills, because it's really easy to find evidence for that.
Well, I don't want this to turn into a 9/11 chat, but you know, without it being that particular subject, because it's a flat Earth related subject, did that come up with him?
No, it didn't. I didn't even know he had that opinion. I wish I would have. I would have grilled him on that.
Well, he doesn't. He has his own views. So he has Le Bon Earth or whatever it's called, and that's his model, essentially geocentric in nature. But ultimately speaking, when I've discussed it with him, he always says the same thing: the map is not the terrain. So that's kind of his view on things. But he ultimately knows that space is a complete farce, and the ISS is a joke. Apollo missions were a complete joke. You know, he knows all of this stuff. But, you know, whether or not he would call himself a flat earther, I think is pretty much certain he won't.
I don't know if he's a CIA agent or not, but he certainly promotes like a CIA agent-themed nihilistic beliefs. So
I'd laugh.
Whether he's an agent or not, he's helping the CIA.
No, he's not. It's just a
the
bloke.
same.
It's just some guy. What are you talking about?
Well, you know, I've done research into like the CIA in the 60s was promoting nihilism through their propaganda, and John Le Bon promotes nihilism. And so whether he knows it or not, he's helping the CIA promote the propaganda they were doing in the past and presumably still doing today.
Well, it is kind of a general known fact that the CIA spends most of its time just putting out misinformation to mislead people,
Exactly.
to get them off the trail of the truth, whatever it may be. And there's not a really clear narrative in that. There are like narrative programs for specific scenarios, like the whole alien legend thing. Truth is out there and everything, and countering flat Earth probably, and maybe even flat Earth itself. I think they're pretty well
Iron
known
Realm
to
Media.
have
How you doing?
controlled opposition.
Hold on now in. Hello, can you hear us, Iron Realm?
They're pretty well known to basically have two different programs in opposition of each other to dominate the narrative, and I think that is their biggest trick. Is to bring out a narrative and then bring out the counter narrative, and then they pretty much control that entire area of focus.
But being a nihilist or an anarchist or neo-Marxist
I can
doesn't make you
provide
CIA.
citations and sources for my claim here. Read The Cultural Cold War, The CIA and the World of Arts and Letters by Francis Stoner Saunders. Lots of evidence, scientific studies, etc.
But I'm not disagreeing with that part. I'm saying that, you know, someone could be a hello, flat Earth. Can you say hello?
You're mower or something.
Shout out to Shroomy.
I love it. Yeah, you can be a nihilist or an anarchist or a neo-Marxist or whatever you like. It doesn't make you CIA, is my point.
No, my point, I didn't say he was CIA. I said he was promoting the same CIA propaganda that they were doing according to this book that I read, that I just cited.
I think how the CIA tends to work is they basically have a very smart, charismatic type of guy that knows a lot. They insert that into a certain type of group whenever they arise to help shape the entire narrative and make the decisions to gain control of that.
Hey, Nummy Num, how you doing? Can you hear us? Hold on, Owen. Hey, Nummy Num, good to have you. We've also got Adam with us as well. How you doing, Adam?
Evening, guys. How are you? All right, Nate?
Very well, very well. Good to have you. Is it you that joined on Iron Realm?
Yeah, I was just trying to jump in on the server we're setting up. So
sorry, that was me that kicked you because you didn't say hello quick enough.
I had no voice. That's why I jumped out, mate. I was fully expecting to be kicked, sir. So it's a pleasure to be kicked the first time by you, mate.
Fair enough. And also, Nummy Num, really pleased to see you again. I love your comments, mate.
Nice to see you as well. Good to be here. You guys normally don't do them at an hour that I can join, but good opportunity.
Awesome.
Hey, anyway, you were talking about that spin of the Earth thing. That was pretty interesting. I'd like to continue that conversation, it actually being flat Earth related. I believe that if you move anywhere on the Earth, whatever direction it may be, that would help scales give out a different result. Because if you have like a train and it would be closed off, like the air inside would be still and it would move at a steady speed, then it doesn't make any sense that things would weigh differently, really. Because Like,
hey Jim, can you hear us?
Weight of things are used to weigh things.
Hello, Jim.
That's how scales work.
Yeah, Arwen, I was saying, like, would the scale itself would be affected the same way, wouldn't it?
Exactly. It is. There is a weight to compare the weight of the other thing. That's how scales work.
Yeah.
Or they use like pressure systems. But as long as it's in an enclosed environment, it doesn't really matter if it's moving or not, as long as it's not accelerating, because acceleration is known to actually do shift. Well, let's just say the point of gravity, it shifts it slightly, and we even had a show about that as a subject in a show way before this. And there was some video demonstrations of like how acceleration actually moves helium balloons inside of a car as it accelerates, that kind of thing. But if it's a steady motion, then everything should just weigh the same.
Yeah. In terms of weight, no matter what, if the scale was accelerating at the same as the thing being weighed, it wouldn't affect it.
Yeah.
Hey, Nomi, you said in the chat I didn't provide evidence of dinosaurs, but there's pictures of dinosaur bones. So what are you talking about?
Well, I think John Laban was challenging you, saying, could these be fake? And you're just like, look at the pictures. Look at the pictures.
Yeah, there's pictures of dinosaur bones.
What?
There's pictures of dinosaur bones.
Yeah, I'm aware that there's pictures of alleged dinosaur bones, but like,
so what? So what's your point?
How do you know they're actually dinosaur bones?
Alleged. The pictures are alleged.
Hold on. Can you just have Nummy and P Mars? I don't want everyone to gang up on P Mars just because he's got a different belief to other people. So just keep it calm.
Look, I'm not an expert on this dinosaur topic, but I'm just saying that John Laban's arguments.
Okay, if you ask me for evidence and I provide friggin' pictures of dinosaur bones in rocks, how is that not evidence?
I'm not saying that's not evidence. I'm saying it's not proof.
Oh my God, you're arguing semantics.
No, I'm not arguing semantics. It's
yes, you are.
No,
that's ridiculous.
No.
You're ridiculous.
Could I jump in on?
No.
What he's saying is
let me respond for Christ's sake, okay?
Yeah, but what he's saying is
John Laban was asking you. The question that John Laban was asking you was, could these pictures be fake?
Well, what the? That's stupid, though.
Well, no, it's not stupid because people fake evidence of things all the time, like the moon landing and stuff like that. So you do have to scrutinize beyond simply the existence of a photo. If you see a photo of Bigfoot,
hello, Lottie, can you say hello?
You see a picture of a unicorn. Does a unicorn exist? It's like
paleontologists exist. I mean, give me a break. You're an idiot.
All right.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously you can fake any photo, but you know what? There's a way to discern truth by, do other sources confirm things? If multiple sources are confirming things, then it's probably true, moron. The hell is wrong with you?
No need for the ad
hom. You have no discernment? Chill. Like, really? Are you a child? Are you a toddler? How old are you?
No need.
What an embarrassment you are.
You believe in the moon landing?
Complete embarrassment.
Calm down, P. There's no need. Just have a civil discussion. There's no need. You can disagree without getting hot under the collar.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, I guess it triggers him for some reason. But
that's fair enough. It's passionate about dinosaurs. Good for him.
You're about to cry.
That's
fair enough. You're about to cry, P. Mars.
Oh, come on, no ad hom. No need.
Come on, don't.
You are making me cry for humanity with your stupid logic. Yes.
Well, I was just reiterating what I heard on your debate with John Laban, and I'm not. I have not done the research in depth on these dinosaur things, so I don't have a hard statement. I'm just saying that
Bertrand Russell said people wouldn't be able to think, and you are a fine example of that.
Okay, P. Mars, I do have like an alternative option. Like, I believe that there probably were pretty freaking large reptiles at one point or another, but could it be that they're not actually the ancient dinosaurs as have been told to us? That they might just be a more recent type of large reptilians they're just saying that they're really that they are ancient.
I think the dates
petrification is proven to not actually take that long.
Potentially,
I would
could
be
be
lying
lying
quickly.
but they definitely can't be lying about the bones. They're physical, and we see them on Earth here. So
But some of the bones. But it is also well known that even in museums where dinosaur bones are being displayed, that they usually make copies of them, and it's rarely a complete skeleton. So they actually fill in some blanks, basically, with how they theorize it would look like.
I will admit there are historical examples of people faking dinosaur bones to get popular, but I mean, that's like taking a few examples and making it the whole paleontologist industry. It's like you're cherry picking information. You can't act like there isn't credible sources that dinosaur bones exist, because there's plenty of that.
Not necessarily. I mean, have you seen it?
Please. Oh, please.
No, I'm just saying that if there is collusion within these institutions to fake other things in science, then it's not such an incredible leap to imagine that they were faking something like that as well. I mean, if these universities are also holding up the things like the moon landing claims, and no tenured professors will come out and challenge this thing, so it's a strike against their credibility right there. The fact that they won't even address the criticisms of some of NASA's claims.
There's no legitimate criticisms for the moon landing, so why would they address them?
There's endless. Are you kidding me? There's no legitimate criticisms of the moon landing claims, really? Like, I mean, maybe
I haven't heard any.
Well, no. Even if they turned out to be. It did turn out to be true. There's lots of criticisms that are legitimate. The fact that they lost all the original telemetry data, all the original footage, the original specifications to build the modules and stuff like that. I mean, right away, that puts the claim into, by any scientific standard, it's a contentious claim on that basis. So, these people aren't calling that out. They're not willing to engage in a real critical discussion of the reality of these things. So I think that puts their credibility in jeopardy, personally. Like, there's clearly that they protect each other. There's a sort of protectionism of the claims made by universities in general, by the people who work in them. And I think a lot of them, they're not necessarily aware that that's what they're doing, but nonetheless, that's what they're doing.
Hey, by the way, P. Mars, I thought that you actually had some doubts about the moon landings. I heard you in the show before actually mentioning that you thought that it was probably fake. Kind of surprised that you're now picking the other side all of a sudden like this.
Yeah, it's called intellectual honesty.
I never really.
Hello, Lewis. How you doing? Can you hear us?
Well, about intellectual honesty, like, I don't know who said that, but I would just ask you, Lewis, do you think it's possible that they could have faked the moon landing?
I just kicked him. I thought it was a fake Lewis because he didn't say hello.
Said that, and not to the extent that you people are claiming.
I think it was real. I think it was real and fake. I think they actually went there, and then they created the whole conspiracy hoax movement at the same time.
But why? Why in God's name would they do that?
Well, if that's the case, that's still very interesting, and it still warrants a lot of investigation by, it's still like a very relevant subject for the public to inquire into if that's the case. Like, if they're really doing it and then presenting us with all fake evidence for what they actually did, that's just as worthwhile a thing to do research on as if they just faked it. But I mean, I think that if you're at the point of rationalizing it like that, I mean, I think that the idea that it was fake has to be at least on the table for you.
But that must be one very, very elaborate and bizarre conspiracy to actually have went there, then make falsified data and evidence, putting in huge efforts to actually do that, and then to work towards later admitting that they haven't done it. Like, the only reason that I can even remotely think of that could be possible is that they actually built a giant base there or something, and then to cover that up, say that they never actually went there. But that is like really cuckoo land conspiracy.
Well, it goes along with the nihilism I was talking about earlier. Like I think they had they're trying to make us lose faith in the system. Like they had Clinton get his wiener sucked in office to make us lose faith in the presidency. Then they railroaded Bush in to make us lose faith in our voting. Then they
but this thing is so freaking.
They want to destroy the current system, so they're using the conspiracy people to make us lose faith in the current system and have us destroy
nihilism
it.
Isn't the word for that. That's just political demoralization. I mean, nihilism is more of a metaphysical.
No, but this P. Mars, like this is such a long-term planned thing that could never work because there are people in the government that have access to all the declassified files. There would always be groups that wouldn't go along with it. It's untenable. It's an untenable plan. So
we are coming up on approximately 1 hour left on this live stream. Hope you're enjoying the debate thus far. Please do not chat spam. It's really frustrating. So please don't spam the chat feed. For God's sake. If you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. Most importantly though, if you'd like to join the debate, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules. Please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream as I watch a massive amount of spam go up. Marvellous. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, which in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. There is approximately 1 hour left on this live stream.
That system, like spreading chaos works to some degree, but not if you're actually going to break down the system that you ride on.
No, that's the thing is the CIA and
hey,
all
Invalid,
those power
can you hear
players,
us?
They're manipulating the
Can you hear us,
system
Invalid
to
Inquiry?
their benefit. That's what's going on. They're not trying to destroy
but how are they benefiting from basically cutting away their own foundation?
Are you sure that that's what they're doing and not just making it appear as such?
No, because we're arguing about the idea that they really landed on the moon, but then they gave us fake evidence, right? But I'm just going to say that if that's going to be,
then they must have something really big to hide there. But I doubt that really has.
Yeah, I'm here. Don't remove me.
I'm not going to. Now that you've said hello, well done.
Go any further with that? It's just somebody.
Sleeping Chode did.
Somebody needs to provide evidence that that's the case, right? Like that is there any evidence that they? So what is PMAR saying, that he thinks that the evidence is fake, like the video footage?
I'm saying they're using. They want to change the system. They want the system to change, and they want this one world government shit. And so they have to make us lose faith in our own government, our own science, etc.
Right.
Yeah, but they use the world government uses the space agencies as well, so that doesn't make any sense.
No, but let me just continue with this. PMARS then, so what's the evidence that they did go to the moon if the evidence that they've presented to us is fake? Because that's what you're saying, isn't it? You're saying that they presented us with all fake evidence, but they really did it as well. So what's the evidence that they really did it as well?
Gem Panda, check out his channel. He's got
so Gem Panda's saying that all the evidence is fake, and but that they really did it. Is that what Gem Panda's saying?
He's got a different opinion. He's got a different opinion than me. But
well, I'm asking you for evidence for your opinion, not for Gem Panda. I'm saying that if you think that all the evidence, yeah, but is this your position? Is your position that all the evidence is fake, but yet they really did it? Is that what you're arguing?
Not all of it. I don't know. I don't know how they did it. I'm saying they really did it, and they created a lander.
Can you all mute if you're not talking?
So what evidence?
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. Sorry, bear with me. Sorry, bear with me a moment, Nummy. Bear with me. Can you all mute if you're not talking because someone's causing feedback? Nobody mutes.
No,
I'm not getting feedback.
I know it's not me causing the feedback because I have a headset on.
Sure, but I'm trying to narrow down who is.
Okay, is it me?
No, it was coming from PMARS himself when he was talking.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just needed to establish it for myself by everyone muting, and then hopefully if two people talk and there's still feedback, it's one of them, you see. But there we go. Brilliant.
No, here's the thing, though, Nathan. We know it's not myself. We know it's not Numdy because we know it's not Arwen.
Who gives a crap what you know? I'm running the damn show. Shut your mouth and do as I tell you, stupid idiot. If I tell you to mute, mute, you stupid man. Why are you telling me how to run this show, you stupid idiot? I'll run the show. You do as I tell you. If I say mute, just mute. Dickhead.
Okay, P-Mars, I just wanted to ask you, what evidence do you think is fake and what evidence do you think is real about the moon landing specifically?
I mean, I can't really answer that because I haven't looked into it. So
but you think some of it's fake and some of it's real? Is that your position?
Yeah, it's just an idea I had. I thought it kind of made sense.
Who cares? It's his opinion. Move on, dude.
No, because I'm just trying to sort this out because it's that's another possible angle that
you think it's completely fake. You think it's completely fake. So without a funny thing happen on the way to the moon, what evidence do you have that they didn't go?
I don't think rockets can work in a vacuum.
So that's your opinion. You don't think that. Okay. What else?
No, they can't.
That's your evidence? I asked for evidence and you said, I don't think something. So do you have any evidence?
Testing rockets in a vacuum prove that doesn't work.
I'm talking about the moon landing, Arjawidgen. So let's talk about the moon landing.
Rockets don't work in a vacuum, which therefore precludes all these space travel.
What evidence do you have of that besides your feels?
No, I don't have lots of evidence besides my feels. It contradicts.
Okay, so you have no evidence.
I was just in the middle of a sentence about explaining the evidence, and then you cut me off saying I have no evidence. That's kind of strange, isn't it?
So go ahead.
I was going to say it contradicts the laws, the sort of principles of physics that describe how gases behave. There's contradiction.
No, it doesn't.
Sure, it does.
No, it actually doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't actually.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, actually, it does. I don't. I'm not sure that it's worth getting into a long-winded conversation about that right now, but we could do it sometime.
Yeah, because you have no evidence. You just feel that rockets don't work in space.
Propulsion based on gas expansion, it's proven in a great variety of ways.
Okay, where's your proof of that, Arjawidgen?
Where's your proof? You don't need to get rude, Timothy. Okay.
I'm just asking where your proof is. You just made an assertion.
There's plenty of videos out there that have been shown.
Oh, videos on YouTube.
Yeah,
with
videos
conspiracy
on YouTube
the
of people
title.
actually doing the experiments.
Where's that? Do you have one of them? Because you said there's many of them. So do you have one?
No, look, I'm not going to be your little proof collection boy.
Okay, well, stop asserting things without any proof. Thank you.
We've been talking about this so many freaking times. I'm
you
not
talk about a lot of things like the Earth being flat. Doesn't mean that it's
go
true.
And collect it.
No. Where's the proof that rockets do work in a vacuum? I mean, is there tests that show that they do, that they can create? No, there isn't. They've never shown that rockets can lift off and reverse and reverse thrust and all of that in any kind of controlled situation.
Don't believe in satellites and all this kind of stuff. So what kind of evidence do you want me to provide?
No, let's not migrate the subject. Let's get back to the subject.
Test. Like NASA made a giant vacuum facility, and yet they have absolutely no footage of them testing any of these rockets or reverse thrust propulsion or anything like that.
When did they make that vacuum chamber? When did they make that?
In the 70s or 60s, I think. 60s.
Okay, so you want video evidence of them seeing if rockets would work in it.
I would like to see.
And without that, you don't believe in it. Is that the case?
That it doesn't make sense. It contradicts the testable principles of physics dealing with vacuums and gases. And NASA, they developed all these rockets and they never tested them in their giant vacuum facility and then made videos of it. Why didn't they do that?
So is this an absence of evidence argument? Because I hear a lot of those.
No,
you don't have a video of them testing it, therefore it's false.
You're asking me to prove a negative that rockets don't work in a vacuum, and I'm asking you to prove the positive.
I'm asking you to prove your assertion. You said that they don't because of physics, and I said, well, no, actually, physics does say they work.
I'm saying that the principles of physics that deal with vacuums and gases.
So there's no rocket science there's no rocket science or any kind of physics that say that rockets work in space. There's nobody that says that rockets work in space.
I've never actually heard NASA define how rocket propulsion works.
I just asked a simple question.
They never talk about it.
The rocket Tsiolkovsky, the Russian pseudoscientist who wasn't even a physicist, who came up with the rocket equation that's used that they claim somehow supports the idea that rockets can work in a vacuum, is fraudulent. And there's no tests that can be replicated. There's no empirical tests that can be replicated to show that rockets would work that way.
So let me ask you this. Do you believe in space?
I don't know I'm not sure what's going on up there. I'm open-minded about that.
Cool. So you're full of assertions and I don't know. So very well.
No,
I think you can go and do all kinds of research in rocket science and go and see if
I have done
modern science is saying that rockets don't work in space. I'd love to say it. I'd love to see it because I'm pretty sure they say that they do.
Yeah, I'm sure that they say that they do. It doesn't mean that they do. That's not proof.
No. You guys were saying that there's evidence that they don't work in space. It goes against physics. Well, I'm saying that there's physics that actually says that it does work. So what are you talking about?
Well, okay, we could hash this out like in more depth, but I'd like to do it maybe. I'd just like to get my notes together because
There's no notes, man. You believe the Earth is flat. You don't know if space exists.
I have all the information pertaining to the arguments about the actual physics. It's just that I haven't.
You just don't have them in your head.
No, I haven't looked at it in a year and a half. I'm not a physicist.
Right, listen, I got a question for Tim. Do we agree or not agree that a drone will not work in a vacuum?
I don't know. I've never tested.
Okay, well, if you think there's any possibility a drone would work in a vacuum, then you're just so absolutely clueless.
What is a drone? Are you talking about something with the kind of helicopter style propulsion? I wouldn't think that would work, but a drone could be something else as well. So it's kind of a malformed question.
No, it's a straightforward question that most people understand. A drone, Tim.
Could a drone have rocket propulsion?
So that was my next question. What's the difference between a drone, which pushes against the air, and a rocket that pushes against the air?
Are you really asking that question?
I'm absolutely asking you that question. What's the answer?
You know the answer to that. I'm not going to play stupid with you, okay? You can play stupid with me, but I know that you know the answer to that.
What about people in chat that don't know the answer to that?
I don't really care about people in chat. I'm here testing the assertions of people saying that space doesn't exist and rockets don't work in space with absolutely no evidence. And they believe the Earth is flat and they don't think that space exists. So,
Nate, could you share my screen, please, sir?
Well, there's on the flip side of that, there's no evidence that rockets do work in a vacuum or that space exists.
Check the internal chat. Check the external chat.
Can you say
I linked 2 videos showing a solid rocket engine igniting in a vacuum.
Cool.
Saying
there you go. There's your absence of evidence argument smashed. Good job. That's all you need to do is just ask smarter people than you. That's all you need to do.
Okay,
instead of asserting things. This doesn't exist, therefore the
You're
Earth is
being
flat.
very
well,
presumptuous.
Maybe you haven't looked hard enough.
Maybe you haven't actually read the title of the video.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen any flat Earth videos that assert things for days
you
that are
obviously
untrue.
haven't read the title of the video, have you? Before you blabbermouth.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, this rocket video that you've linked, I'm looking at it, and it's an invalid experiment because as soon as the propellants from the rocket enter the chamber, it's no longer a vacuum. So then they're pushing on the gases that they've created through the combustion process. And they don't do a control experiment showing how does this thing work if we just leave air in the chamber. So it's not a scientific experiment.
Yeah,
you can see that the thing only actually starts to work once the chamber is filled with gas from the rocket itself. Like it's not a vacuum chamber.
But it wouldn't ignite in the first place when it's at vacuum if it couldn't do it at all.
What are you talking? It wouldn't ignite? Well, they bring their own oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have an enclosed chamber. They ignite the gas. It forms all of this exhaust. Then the vacuum chamber is no longer a vacuum chamber because it's filled with exhaust. They're now using that as their source of external pressure.
After a few seconds, yes, but
and that's what you see in the experiment, that it's not until after the gas comes out.
Well, if it's in a larger vacuum chamber and the vacuum actually
but we're not
keeps on
arguing about the
pumping,
ignition. We're
then
arguing about
it
the fact
will
that
show that it
nothing,
won't work.
There's no external pressure to gain a force to accelerate.
Oh, so you want to argue where the force comes from in
Yeah,
a
you need an
engine.
external force to make something accelerate, according to Newton's first law.
Yeah.
Where all right.
Propulsion is about pushing.
How does a rocket
it
engine
pushes
create
off
thrust?
something. If there is nothing, if there is a vacuum, then there's nothing to push off onto.
Yeah, you can't.
That
There's,
is
there's
basic,
nothing to
it's
accelerate.
basic physics.
Yeah, there is.
What?
These are tired claims, guys. Seriously.
No, they're not tired.
Rockets don't work in
The
space.
exhaust gases
Rockets
out
do not
the-
work in space.
The
In
exhaust
a
don't believe in
theoretical
space,
vacuum
so
where
you're
there
an
would
idiot.
be
I didn't. What did you
where
ask
there
me
would
if
be
I
no
believe
gravity,
in space? What
a
did I say? I
propulsion
said I don't
would
know what's
cause a
going on up
rocket
there.
to spin
So now you're
wildly
lying.
around its axis.
So you
without
don't know what's
actually
going on
moving.
up there, but you know that rockets don't work up there. Well done.
Well, I'm
Well done.
saying that rocket from what we.
No, well done.
No. You see what you're just look what you have to do. You're just using sophistry. Like you're
No, I'm using your
misrepresenting-
words against you.
No, you're
Welcome
misrepresenting
to the Timmy
what I
Osmond
said
Hour.
and then trying to create a straw man from it.
Numby, I have a quick question for you. Do you understand how an internal combustion engine works?
Yes.
All right. Where is the
So,
force
you know-
being? Hang on. Where is the force being generated in that engine to cause the piston to move down?
Inside the piston.
Inside the piston itself is what's pushing the piston down?
What do you mean pushing the piston down? Pushing the piston down is the external pressure of the atmosphere.
No.
Pushing it down? What do you mean down? Pushing it like
it means the explosion inside the chamber.
yeah, the explosion inside the chamber is happening.
Yes, the
it's
combustion
inside the
chamber.
piston.
Then that expansion happens, pushes the piston down. Now, a rocket engine.
Okay, why are you saying
Hang
down?
on.
I need to understand what you're asking.
Hang on. Slow down. Let's walk through this.
Yeah, I'm asking you.
So an internal combustion engine has a combustion chamber. Were you aware that liquid-fueled rockets also have a combustion chamber?
Yes.
So what happens when you ignite something in a combustion chamber? Is the force just going in all directions with no net push? Or can you control where the pressure is released in order to create thrust?
It goes in all directions.
Wow.
Oh, God.
No wonder why you get it wrong.
Hello.
Hello, the one truth.
No, it's
True
true.
Marty, rather.
I mean,
how you doing?
Okay, you could find the.
Yeah, I had to interrupt you guys. Sorry, so I didn't get kicked.
Yeah, no, good on you. Way to do it.
It's kind of rude, but
Well,
continue on.
There's a lot of snipers coming in and a lot of people who want to just join to disrupt. So if you don't say hello, you have to get kicked immediately when there's a good conversation going on, and there is currently. So you're right, you are rude, but I'm glad you did it anyway. Nice to have you.
Thanks.
So that's the thing. When you look at even just the basic diagram of how a rocket engine is physically put together, the different components that actually go into creating the combustion and then the exhaust, the fact that there is a single exhaust point which creates a lower pressure at that point is what creates the thrust of a rocket engine.
It creates a higher pressure at that point, not a lower pressure. The exhaust is at a higher pressure than the air that's in front of the rocket. That's what would make a rocket work within the atmosphere.
Right. I'm not talking about the outside of the combustion chamber.
You said that it makes a lower pressure at the exhaust.
At the exhaust valve.
No, it creates a higher pressure
at
at
the rest of the combustion chamber.
No, it creates a higher pressure. That's how an engine would work. Like that's how it. Or why don't we talk about like a jet engine, for instance? It creates a higher pressure at the exhaust.
So, in the impact
Why
of science,
lower pressure. You're saying lower pressure, so you clearly have no idea.
I'm talking about the combustion chamber itself.
in the impact of science on society, Bertrand Russell said, many people would sooner die than think. In fact, they do.
What does it say about the conspiratorial bias.
The what?
Conspiratorial bias, what you suffer from.
It talks about modern methods of propaganda. Like this would be used to basically brainwash people, and that science would be confined to the governing class. And like, I don't hear a lot of people in the conspiracy realm, alternative media, telling people to study propaganda and mass psychology and talking about the CIA and the propaganda in the 60s. It's funny.
Well, I would think that you should be thinking about that, P. Mars, considering you think the moon landing was real. Don't you think that that kind of falls into the purview of those sorts of...
Go watch that.
We've already been through this. You don't have any evidence that the moon landing wasn't real. We've already been through this, remember?
There's lots of evidence.
Oh, okay. Can you name one?
I just was talking about it. Rockets don't work in a vacuum. There's evidence.
Okay, well, you haven't proven that. So do you have another one?
Well, we're not going to be able to prove that right here and now, obviously.
Okay.
Well, I have one thing about the moon landings, and that is there's no approach footage. There's only a footage
right now
once they get to the surface of the moon, and then you see that thing.
Could tell us why
but you don't actually see them approaching
Define a drone.
the moon.
Are you talking about a propeller drone?
Yes, Tim, a propeller drone, the thing that we all buy.
Thank you.
A propeller requires an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right, so contrast why a drone doesn't work in a vacuum to why a rocket does.
Totally different thing, dude. And you're just being coy. You're trolling, dude.
Let me
like
ask,
usual.
Let me ask the question to Nummy Num then. Num, would you agree that a drone does not work in a vacuum chamber?
Yes, of course.
Do you think that a rocket should work or should not work in a vacuum chamber based on the? Is it comparable or not comparable?
I think it's comparable. It's not exact. I think that it's a little bit different, but that generally speaking, yes, comparable. That you require an external pressure to drive the thing forward.
So let me ask Jared Buto. Do you think that a drone is comparable or not comparable to a rocket in a vacuum?
Not comparable.
For what reason?
It's how the actual engines creating the propellant function. One requires an atmosphere, the other doesn't.
Go on.
What more needs to be said beyond that?
A rocket also requires
a propeller requires an atmosphere because it moves the atmosphere based on the rotation of the blades. A rocket engine, being a self-contained combustion, does not require an atmosphere.
Yeah, but when the blades spin, that creates the thrust. What's it going to be thrusting against?
God, dude.
No. Here's the thing,
whether it be chemically induced pressure or motion-induced pressure, it requires something to propel off. That's why it's called propulsion. Doesn't matter if it's a propeller or if it's a combusting gas. Doesn't matter.
So you think? Do you guys think Newton's first law of motion is relevant, holds up?
Do you disagree with all known rocket science?
Yep. I'm asking you a question now. You're not going to answer.
No, I was just asking you a question.
But why don't you answer?
You disagree with rocket science?
Yeah, but I'm saying, do you agree with Newton's?
That's all that needs to be said. What school did you go to?
Yeah, let us not dare question rocket.
Did you go to the school of YouTube conspiracy theories?
Right?
See how you won't actually deal with any questions coming in the other direction?
We can't be sure of any of Isaac Newton's science because he was a satanic witch who worshipped the sun.
Sure, I agree with that, but I'm asking these guys. They agree. Well, I'm saying we can't be sure of any. I don't see any reason to be sure of his science just on his word. I'm just asking these guys if they agree with Newton's first law of motion, because I would imagine that they probably hold it to be a fact because of the way that they think, right?
To date,
do you agree with Newton's first law of motion or not? That an object will stay at rest or in motion unless acted on by an external force?
To date, it has been demonstrated as true. Until information comes out to disprove it, it will be accepted.
Okay, well then, if it's not his first law of motion is that an object will stay in motion or at rest unless acted on by an external force.
Yes.
What's your point, dude?
Internal force in the rocket. The rocket, it's an internal engine. An internal combustion engine refers to internal forces. So a thing can't move by internal forces. Otherwise, we have to throw out Newton's first law.
And that's where the exhaust valve comes in that you keep wanting to get.
No, because we're still
around
talking
its own
about
axis
external force. It's as simple as this. Is the rocket creating an external force to itself, or is it using an internal force?
It's creating an external force via the exhaust valve and the exhaust housing.
No, but that's not what external force
that gets actually sucked into the vacuum of space before it can actually be used to thrust
Does
against.
pressure move from high to low or low to high?
It moves
the vacuum
from
is
high
extreme.
To low, but if there's
it
no
sucks
gas,
it away right away
so,
instantly.
Yes, no, you got it right there. You got it right there. Force goes from high pressure to low pressure. The high pressure is in the exhaust housing of the rocket.
No.
Why would the force automatically just reverse in space?
No, you're wrong. You said force goes from high pressure to low pressure. Force does not go from high pressure to low pressure. Gas goes from high pressure to low pressure.
Which would be the exhaust. Which the exhaust moving in one direction creates the opposing force in the other, which actually propels the rocket. It's very basic. Why do you want to conflate it?
This is the CGI Osprey guy.
You're muted, Numinum.
Someone
joined
made a
us to mute
CGI
you.
Osprey.
Either he's been muted or he's been booted, one or the other. Has he been kicked out by his own sock? You there, Numinum?
Good. So, Arwidgen. Uh-oh, more people are going.
No, it
You
was.
believe that
vacuum
vacuum sucks?
The flat Earth has got kicked out. Are you still there, Numinum, or not?
Let me see.
Wait. Yeah, I'm here. I was just muted.
No worries.
I wonder how long I was muted for. Okay.
Yeah, Nummy removed Sleeping Warrior.
No, I didn't.
The sock
I didn't.
Nummy. The sock Nummy.
No, the sock version of you.
Okay. Well, yeah. Who's that? That's weird.
So anyway, where'd you get your schooling from? Was it YouTube videos, conspiracy related? I'm just wondering.
Who are you asking me?
Yeah, Nummy.
Oh, I went to university and I've since used various different resources to educate myself further on these subjects, including books.
Were you in any kind of field with
videos.
physics or anything?
Pardon me?
When you went to schooling, were you in any kind of field of physics?
I've taken a first-year university physics class.
Okay.
But was it intended for STEM or other people?
Other people? What do you mean?
Liberal arts.
Non-STEM people.
No, it was intended as STEM. I mean, I did like half a biology degree, but I didn't finish it. But I took some physics and chemistry as well. I mean, I'm not claiming to any expertise in this, though. So I don't. It's irrelevant. I don't consider that to be important anyway.
So when did the head injury happen to take you away from all of this wonderful education that you had access to?
You started watching YouTube videos, conspiracy related. It's usually the case.
I'm vaccine injured.
It's really a sad world for these people.
No, it's pretty sad that that's all you've got is the character assassination.
How did I character assassinate you?
Okay. Well, I'll just let you guys.
I didn't know a question was.
If you assert things towards me, I'm going to use your words against me. So, did I character assassinate you, or do you want to retract that statement?
I'm not playing this silly game with you guys.
Okay. Well, that's your answer. No, I did not character assassinate you. Thank you. Another assertion.
You assumed that he had a head injury. That is really a nasty, Tim. You are.
I didn't say that, did I?
Yeah, you did.
Well, Jared did.
Holy crap! You guys can't listen.
Yeah. Wrong person.
No.
Oh my God, guys! It wasn't Tim who said it. It was the other guy. You guys are so stupid.
Yeah.
Can't you even see
it? No,
it's
called a mistake.
You fell on your head.
You are.
confused this one troll with the other. You guys are retarded.
Yeah, well, that's because you're all the damn same, and you all bring the same arguments. You talk in the same nasty voice all the time. It's very easy to mistake you all.
This is so beautiful,
dipshit idiots apart. What kind of
No
idiot
cussing.
couldn't tell Timothy from this other asshole? So what are you guys talking about?
I know people that conspiracy theories are trolls. I understand that. I've been around long enough.
Conspiracy theories are like so dumb, guys. Like there's no possibility that any conspiracy could ever take shape.
No, that's not what I said. That's
question what the government says.
Excuse
well
me.
Done.
When did I ever say that? Did I ever say those words?
No, I'm actually
either.
satirizing Tim now.
He's just
funny. I've never heard Tim say those words. So where is this coming from?
No, I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, so you're
We're
making
looking
shit
on
up and
YouTube,
pulling
so
it out of
that
your
must
ass.
be-
All right.
Yeah, I'm making shit up and pulling it out of my ass, but I'm doing it in a way that's I'm not. What do you think? I'm trying to make some kind of scientific.
Stop playing the victim. Stop playing the victim.
We've got about half an hour left on this live stream. Hope you're all enjoying the carnage that has been this show. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the panel, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. Please don't swear, please don't spam the chat feed, and yeah, please also share the show, as this increases the chances of a more diverse panel. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. As I say, there is about 30 minutes left on this live stream.
That should be a clue.
A clue of what? That I'm wrong? Or so if your family doesn't agree with all your opinions, then you should change them? What was that? Is that your argument?
If your family is unwilling to support you in your life, you should question your choices.
My family is willing to support me in my life. I mean, I just don't engage them on topics that they're not invested in already. I realize that this whole kind of conspiracy subject isn't for everyone, you know. It's not for the faint of heart.
All right, so what are you trying to show, Morty?
Oh, am I being presented?
No.
What do you want to present?
Just some footage. It's not mine. I just want to get some.
Yeah, don't do it.
It's kind of aimed at flat earthers mainly, just to get your thoughts on it. See what you think. See if you saw it. I'm sure you've already seen it, but I'd still like to bring it up in here.
What is it?
Does that sound like?
Yeah. It's
he has permission. You can play this.
Go ahead,
Nathan.
All right.
Yeah, you presented. Go ahead.
There's a refraction line, as you can see. It's flat Earth.
Now, I was hoping Sleeping Warrior would be in here, because I'd like to hear what he has to say about this. Because
he already has commented. He just says that it proves that the Earth is flat. He's just an idiot.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it does.
I don't really understand that.
I am here. What is it I can help you with?
Well, I'm presenting a video of Soundly's. I'd just like to get maybe you or Nathan Oakley's thoughts on it.
I can't see it because I'm not. If I have the Skype call in voice, I can't have. Hang on, let me. I can't see what you're referring to.
I saw it. It was pretty good footage, and it proved indeed that there is this zone, a slant zone, and after that goes on in a straight line.
Oh yeah, I know what you're referring to.
It's pretty good.
What about that is just evidence of the Earth being curved, or would you in?
Very suddenly stopping.
So hang on, let me ask a question. Who's the guy that's presenting? What's your name?
Oh, my name's Sean.
So can you see that the point where the obstruction like makes the thing that we're looking at disappear on the horizon?
The what? Say that again.
The point where the things that we're looking at on the horizon. Can you see the point where the things begin to disappear? Can you see that point? Yeah.
Yeah.
What word would you use? What adjective would you use to describe that effect?
Distortion, blurred.
Oh, great. Okay,
Effect.
so I'm glad you didn't say curvature at that point, because there is evidence that there is an inferior, and I'll quote Slice Barkane's words, an inferior mirage that appears to the observer as obstruction. Would you agree with those words?
I don't see why not.
I agree with them. But if this supports that we live on a ball, then it should be the curvature of the Earth that's what is making things disappear. Correct?
You mean it can't be both?
But is there any evidence of both?
Yeah, look at how much of that building there to the left is blocked by that distortion layer, and how much more of it would be required by the curvature.
Well, how much obstruction that we can see called the inferior mirage is in the picture?
Why is height doing this much? The change in height. How is it doing that much?
Especially when you're
that
looking
island
through
there,
more dirty
way over in
air
the distance,
that case.
it doesn't seem to drop very fast. So
is this why you and Nathan don't take observations from low down? Is this why you go higher up?
Be able to see that at all.
Here's the thing:
it would be hidden behind the curvature, and it's not. You can
there's
still
only
see
one.
it.
Here's the thing: there's only one thing that we can prove in the image. The other one is inferred, and we can't prove it because we can't see it. The thing we can prove is mirage. The thing we can't prove is curvature.
Why does the mirage end up blocking the majority of the building?
Are you a hologram fantasist?
Who?
Oh, I love
Sleeping Warrior.
It falls down into the refraction zone. That's why. But as the motion there proves, you can see those hills very far away. You should never be able to see them, ever. But you can. And the way they drop as the camera goes up proves that it's not really curved. It's not really behind the curve. The curve,
it's not curved.
The thing that looks like a curve is much closer.
Here's the thing, though.
It just looks like a curve. It's not a curve. Okay.
We see that the obstruction at the horizon is mirage. We see that it's upside down and it's mirage. We see that, and that's not disputed, right? We can prove that. But can we prove curvature?
Yeah, you can do it by going on a day where that miraging effect, that refraction effect, is as minimal as possible. And you still get a similar amount of blockage. Not the same amount, but close.
Right. But
so let me ask you this, Sleeping.
I'll re-ask the question.
Dorcas. Hey, Dorcas. Hey, I'm wondering, if he goes on several different days where there's better atmospheric conditions, would you concede on anything that it's not the superior mirage doing that?
Well, you would have to evidence curvature that was doing it as well, and that's the bit that we struggle with.
No, that's what we're saying, is go over the course of a number of days to where atmospheric conditions vary. And you can actually get it to where the surface temperature and the air temperature are going to be so close that that mirage effect would be
in a basin.
Negligible.
Are you serious?
Negligible. And you would still
serious? You think that you will get the surface temperature
the rumpus.
Be similar to the water temperature in a basin?
Hello.
Reds has done it. Red's rhetoric had done it a couple years ago over Tampa Bay. It's
you
not
mean
an
with his
impossible
Big
thing
Ben's
to do.
power station that showed that the Earth was flat? Is that what you're referring to?
No, you think it's flat, but you also have your head up your ass.
Well, I challenged Reds to go through that, and he didn't do it. He never did. And if he's out there listening, I'd still go through that exact same thing with him.
Like you.
Big Ben's power station experiment that Reds did showed that the Earth was flat. It showed that inverted mirage and nothing more.
There were also
Therefore, it's flat. Give me a break, dude.
Well, hang on. Let's remind ourselves of the basic geometry of the Earth here. This is an observation over 16 miles, right? We've got observations at 30, 40, 50 plus. Is it? Are we seeing the curvature that you guys are claiming to see?
Your elevation plus you're looking at high objects. Finally?
So what's the elevation of this footage that we're looking at now?
I don't have the details on that. I didn't know coming here.
I don't have the telemetry either, but if you want,
I know. So then what's your argument?
You
think that this is taken from ground level? I don't think so.
Well,
no, that's exactly the point.
Okay, but you're saying that
as your elevation increases, your visible distance also increases.
Yeah, obviously.
Unless there's something obstructing it in the far distance.
That's how it works
like
on a flat tab.
Clouds and such. Like you can't see any further.
Sorry to interrupt.
Can
I just ask a quick question? So as we rise, should we see the horizon rise as well? Or
no.
This seems to go
and
up.
It doesn't.
Lowers.
The horizon seems to go up as we raise in altitude. See?
No, it depends where you're pointing.
Yeah, I think the camera is pointing down.
If you pointed straight ahead, the horizon would fall down.
But it's going up.
That's because they're pointing. He's pointing at the horizon. He's not pointing 0 degrees. He's not pointing at a tangent, a horizontal to where he is. He's looking down, and he's changing what he's looking down as he goes up.
Well,
if he were to remain looking straight horizontally, the horizon would fall down.
Well, he isn't though, is he?
No,
so we
because
can't really
down.
prove that assertion with this footage, can we?
Well, no, we can't tell because we don't know, but he is looking down. But we can't tell because we don't know what the camera angle is doing, but I can tell you it's changing its angle as he goes up.
Well, without that information, then this evidence becomes...
Oh, what about this obvious curvature right here in this bridge?
Yeah, but there's too much curvature as well. Like, it's only 6
too much?
Well, this
is
over...
map to prove that.
So now you're complaining about too much curvature. Now you're complaining about too much curvature and you complain about not enough.
Yeah,
much
is a problem.
Problematic, isn't it, when you can't get the curvature to stay consistent as according to the formula? It's just an optical effect. It's called refraction.
Look, when we go up into space, we get lots of curvature. Is that too much for you? So what exactly is the amount of curvature you want to see?
The amount that would match the model.
It does. Everything matches the model.
No, this doesn't match. I mean, I
absolutely matches it.
You have to analyze it further, but this does not match the curvature of the model of
everything.
That's just an assertion that you have no evidence for.
Nathan, can you share my screen and let me know what I'm presenting?
I mean, you're
you
just
should.
with an image, and
you should learn how to come up with evidence for your assertions. You should. That's a good thing.
There you go. I would suggest you do the same. I mean, so if it can be,
I'm not making assertions.
No, listen, Tim. If it can be shown that that is too much curvature, more than would be predicted by the globe model, then what do we do with that evidence? Will you throw out the evidence?
What if honeybees could, whatever? I mean,
no, I'm just saying, what if someone is able to show that that is too much curvature, more than is predicted by the model?
We will cross that road when that comes, if that comes.
Right, no, but I'm saying, let's decide in advance what we're going to do.
It would be a problem, yes. If it was too much, it would be a problem, yes.
Okay, then we'll just leave it there.
But it's not, so we're fine.
Well, no, I'm just saying. If it can be shown that it is,
you
guys will reject the evidence.
It would be if it could be shown, but it won't be, so we don't have a problem.
All right. Well, I'm just saying you guys are on the record saying you'll throw out that evidence if that can be shown to be too much curvature.
We won't throw out the evidence completely. Why would we do that?
I'd like to present some evidence.
You'll throw it out as being proof of the globe. That you won't assert that it's proof of the globe if it's too much for the model.
Gents, I'd like to present some evidence that shows that it's way too much curve. Can you see my screen, gents?
Problem is that it conflicts with a lot of other evidence. So what you guys are trying to say is that this evidence is the best evidence because it matches the. Or
nobody said that's another straw man you're doing. Nobody said that.
Well, no, I'm just
saying the guy that showed that evidence just said, "Hey, what do you guys think about it?" That's all that was said.
Hey, you're interrupting me. I'm saying that that's what's being inferred. You guys are presenting this as proof of the globe, are you not?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that there's curvature there that cannot be explained on a flat Earth unless you want to go with the air.
No, and I'm saying that it
can be explained on a flat Earth with refraction. We've been doing that a lot of times
you
now.
Think it's too much. You
any
need
math.
to show that it's too much.
Well, I'm saying
any modeling, anything.
I'm saying if I can show it, let's decide what we're going to say about it afterwards. Now.
No. How about you show it, then we'll say naturally what comes after
same
that.
principle. If you can demonstrate the maths says it's the wrong amount of curvature, well, we'll have a problem. Go away, work out the maths, and come back, and we'll then discuss it. But
well, I'm not going to go away. We'll just leave it.
No, not the moment. Not the moment. So I mean, it didn't apply just now. No. But I'm saying, yes, if you can show there's too much curvature, the maths it's inconsistent with the maths, we would have a problem. But I'm absolutely 100% confident you will not be able to show that, so it doesn't worry me in the slightest.
Okay, gents, can you look at this the share screen so that you can see what I've got on screen? Can you see the towers?
Yeah, you presented.
This is a 30-mile observation, right? It's double the distance of the Pontchartrain. It's done at night time when it's cold, and the surface area, the surface temperature is similar to the water temperature. Might be a little bit different, but it's similar because there is no sun to keep the day warm. The sun is gone, it's cooler, so therefore the refraction is less, right? At that point, we can all agree, less refraction at night. Now, this is what the tower looks like, and at 30 miles away, that's what we can see. And you can see that there's a little love heart. You can't actually see it on this particular picture, but there's a little love heart located just above the roof here, and we see it in the picture. This is from 30 miles. It's double, right? This is what it's meant to look like on a curved Earth. So we've got the tippy tops of it, and according to Mick West himself, that's all we should see. So if Soundly's evidence is curvature of the Earth, why have I not got the same? Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here.
Where's everybody else?
No, it's the same. It's the same thing. When you say something that is patently wrong, I want to question it. I'm going to stop you right there so we can address a false claim.
No, I'm saying
now, Anthony, you said that just because it was at night that there was no refraction.
I said minimal refraction, virtually none.
That is an incorrect statement because you still can have a dramatic change between surface temperature and air temperature at night, still creating refraction.
Yeah.
Time of day does not matter.
Sound stuff is at night, isn't it? The stuff that he's got with refraction. In fact, his Marriott. In fact, I've got two pictures of his picture of the Marriott Hotel, which are done at night. One, it's you can't see it at all, and the other one, it's hugely up. The variation is incredible. So
in any case, what I was saying before is there's conflicting evidence.
There's no conflicting evidence. Refraction confuses the things. I agree with that, but other than that, there's no conflicting evidence.
Well, that could be the source of the conflict, or it could be the shape of the Earth is the source.
Riley, what's your observation height? The elevation of that observation?
It's no higher than 29 feet.
Oh God, not this again.
Yeah, it's not like you're 29 feet on that cliff, is it? Which turned out to be 110.
Yeah.
115.
Well, we're on the beach, and the highest tide we can get is a 9-meter tide at the apex.
He's a liar. He's a blatant liar, compulsive liar.
Wasn't the location of that image?
Let's address refraction. Do we all agree that the effects of refraction are negligible?
Oh, it's on this what I've got here, Anthony. I've got to put this negligible. You don't seem to understand that this paper is all about generating mirages, things that are upside down in wacky places. To them, negligible means it's not wacky and hugely there's not a huge displacement. For the sort of thing we're doing, where we're measuring the tiniest of angles over 60 miles, causes a 10-meter difference.
I think what they're referencing
that is not negligible to us. But it's
on land with non-standard refraction that causes actual mirages, actual image displacement. There, the standard refraction is negligible, but on a sea surface, there is no non-standard refraction because it doesn't get hot enough, and there it's definitely not negligible. It's actually quite a lot.
I would just like to finish my point, please. Right. So for us, when we're dealing with
people, please.
10 or 20 meters, that's to us, 10 to 20 meters is not negligible. To these people who have got ships, they're trying to model ships being suspended in the air. 10 or 20 meters is absolutely nothing, not interest. They're not trying to model changes of 10 or 20 meters over 50 miles.
When they're in the air, Rumpus, what would you describe that effect as, Rumpus? When those ships are in the air, what do you call that effect? Is it called looming, by any chance? Is it called looming? When those ships are hovering in mid-air, would you call that effect looming, Rumpus? Because that's what it's termed as. It's called looming.
What's called looming?
When things hover in the air.
That's more serious than looming. I think that would be regarded as being beyond extreme looming. We'll call it extreme looming.
So looming then.
extreme looming.
Sorry,
Let's
so it
just
has
call
the
it
word
non-standard.
looming in there, so I am correct. When things are hovering, they are looming. So it's a refractive
difference.
So it's a refractive effect we're talking about. A bit like the entire island that has absolutely no distortion on it whatsoever, but is also looming. Funny how these two effects have the exact same name, but one gets attributed this term extreme by the rumpus, even though it is the exact same effect with the exact same word attributed. Looming.
That's not looming. So, for instance, that's not looming. What you're just showing there.
Yeah, we don't want to know what isn't looming. We want to know what is looming. And apparently, when things hover in the air, that's looming. Just like the mountain that has absolutely no distorted effects on it whatsoever, but is also looming. Funny that.
They're trying to demonstrate how mirages work. That's extreme, I think you'd have to accept. And that's why they regard little bits of looming as completely negligible. They're not interested in it. They're involved. They're interested in these
Can we call
extreme
this, for the sake of the discussion, can we call this non-standard refraction?
That's not. This is extreme. This is not
another extreme of non-standard refraction. So we've got extreme looming, just like we have on the mountain that we see perfectly in scale, and we've got extreme refraction, like non-standard, non-standard, extreme. They sound similar to me. Non-standard, not extreme.
Extreme is a subset of non-standard. Can't you understand?
So non-standard and extreme are in the same subset. So non-standard refraction. The thing that is attributed to the entire Isle of Man, that is the same group set as these things that are also refractive effects. Is that right? Funny how they have demonstrable effects on them, but the island doesn't. Funny that, isn't it, Rumpus?
All of the image of the Isle of Man is covered by standard refraction. We do not need non-standard refraction.
Yeah, it's
Nathan,
all
why don't you
non-standard
guys take observations near the water level and Isle of Man observations?
We can off the subject, are we, Tim?
Can I get an answer of that?
It's all right. I don't mind holding Rumpus's toes to the fire. It's fun. Yeah, I know you're here to defend him.
Can I get an answer of that?
I think this shoreline thing's a bit of a red herring.
I want to talk a bit more about looming. It's funny.
Okay, no, I'm happy to talk about looming.
Well, there's obviously sinking on a flat Earth, isn't there?
No, looming. Try to keep up.
Obstruction? What is obstruction?
No, we're talking
Things
about
that
looming.
Are not there.
Try to keep up with the conversation.
You can't see them with a direct line of sight, Nathan? They're not there?
Yeah, they're not there.
Or are they there?
They're not there, they're all looming.
Shouldn't they be there, though?
They're not there. They're looming, my friend. They're not really there.
They're sinking on a flat Earth, I think.
No direct lines of sight, unfortunately. Do you understand what a direct line of sight is, Tim?
Whether you like it or not, none of it is
yeah, shut up, Rumpus. Do you know what a direct line of sight is, Tim? Because you don't have one on the globe, my friend. You don't have one.
You don't have the direct line of sight of the beach on the Isle of Man, do you?
Yeah. You don't have any direct lines of sight.
You don't have that, do you? Where's your direct line of sight on a flat Earth on Isle of Man? Why do you have to go to high elevations?
You guys, you see things that are there.
Why
it's
don't
all
you take
looming.
observations
None of
near
it's
the water?
really there. No direct lines of sight.
Why? Because you're intellectually dishonest, Nathan?
Because you've got this
And Riley?
presuppositional argument that things bend around the curve of the Earth with non-standard refraction. That
there's no
specifically is why.
observations near the water.
That's called a presuppositional argument, Tim. You know what one of them is, don't you, buddy? You know what a presuppositional argument is? One that presupposes the outcome. Yeah? Like non-standard refraction. That's a presupposed argument. Yeah? Begging the question. You understand all of these things, don't you, Tim? Well, non-standard refraction falls into that category. Yet when we have demonstratable examples of non-standard refraction, they do all kinds of, what was the word Rumpus uses? Extreme things. Yet in the examples that you use, in the presuppositional argument that light is bending around the curve of the Earth, 76R, well, we have no demonstratable effects. We just have to accept, as you put it, things that are there aren't really there because we can't see them. There's no direct lines of sight. Things are blocked by Earth curve even if we do see them. Non-standard refraction hyena to the rescue.
We don't need non-standard.
Right, you got a direct line of sight with the lighthouse, have you, Rumpus?
Yeah, once we got your actual elevation,
you got a direct line of sight with the lighthouse.
Standard refraction.
Have you got a direct line of sight? You just said you don't need non-standard refraction. So have you got a direct line of sight with the lighthouse?
We have a refracted line of sight.
So you don't have a direct line of sight, exactly as I asserted. This is a fun game. I can play this all day. Fun. Talking about looming and other nonsensical things that these globers believe in. Talking about their presupposed arguments that light bends around curves.
You deny refraction
fun.
of curves, then, Nathan?
Yeah.
Refraction is a fundamental part of looking through the atmosphere.
They go to the highest point to take observations.
You show me some evidence of this non-standard refraction that's not extreme in any way. It doesn't show me any extreme effects. Just have to accept that it's there because it's part of your presuppositional argument.
Are you denying refraction, Nathan?
Yeah, we do have refraction. We just don't have the presuppositional version of refraction that bends light around a presupposed curve 76R. We don't have that kind of refraction because it doesn't demonstrate any evidence of itself.
Yes, absolutely
we do have actual refraction, which tends to make itself clear that it's actually occurring. That's what we do have.
Was built until GPS using that 7/6. It was standard thing. All the ordnance survey was done.
Yeah, you like your stutter when you're pinned to the wall. I like holding your toes to the fire. Fun.
Rumpus, you fall into his trap every time, dude.
I know, and he starts stuttering, which is great for my audience ratings.
Guys, let's get back on topic, right? We were talking about Soundly. Let's go back on topic. Let's talk about Soundly and what is observation and whether it's supported or not supported by other observations. This is 30 miles.
Riley, why don't you take observations from near the water level? Can you answer me that? Why is there no observations from you guys? Why do you go to the highest points to take observations? Can you answer that question?
Like the one Ranty took from the water that we presented 3 days ago. That one was in the water. Did you see the water? We saw the water. Did you not see that one? Try to keep up to date, Tim.
No, I haven't been keeping up to date with the flat Earth debate. But I did watch about 50 shows where you guys literally go to the highest points to take observations.
Hit the bell notification icon, Tim. That's what you need to do, my friend, to keep up with these arguments.
Tim, I don't think you should pursue this argument because I don't believe it's a good argument because there's so much refraction that occurs at lower levels.
You don't think it's a good argument that they go to every freaking highest point to do observations, really?
How much is so much?
And then lie about the elevation.
How much is so much?
Really?
So much that we don't see it. I love it. So much refraction, we can't even see it. It just works on our presupposed argument.
Hold on. If they're trying to
around the curve of the Earth, whether you like it or not, it's always there.
Just go to one
anything beyond the horizon, it's just there automatically, man. Non-standard refraction.
Okay,
automatically there, whether or not you want to accept it. It's just bending stuff that you can see day in, day out around the curve of the Earth, man. Just works. 76R just works, man. It's just there. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to like it. Just does it. Don't have to present any evidence for it happening. It just happens, man. Just bends around this curve we don't see to present things as a flat Earth observation.
When you say you don't see the curve, Nathan, what do you mean by it? Do you mean the left to right? You mean the cross
Show it me. Show it me.
Sorry? Is that what you mean? When you say there's no curve, do you mean to say left to right across your
I mean the Earth is flat, obviously and observably. That's what I mean. I mean, things like lighthouses that would be obscured by Earth curve are not. That's what I mean. Is that not been made clear amongst this debate process, Rumpus? We think it's just flat, mate. Simple, easy to understand, straight lines of sight. None of this automatically assuming that there's a curve. None of this assuming that there's light bending around that curve to account for things that we see and can measure with straight lines. Simple. Like the people who survey stuff, you know, straight lines, simple angles.
Did you hear what Rumpus just said? He said that there are no straight lines in the atmosphere. All the lines are curved.
He's back on the looming.
Light curves, does it? Does light not travel in straight lines, Rumpus?
Not in the atmosphere, no.
Really? All right.
Yes,
so
this is why
let's get back on track. Can somebody explain to me why at double the distance we're not seeing the level of curvature that Soundly shows?
Well, I'd have to see what your observation height is. I'd have to know what the Blackpool elevation is, and I'd like to make sure what we're looking at. Because I remember, I haven't been in this Blackpool debate. Geo completely demolished your line on the Blackpool tower. And he pointed. I think he discovered that you were looking at the wrong. You weren't allowing for the base of the tower or something. Etc. Etc. I can't remember the details because I haven't examined this myself. But
perhaps you should review it because
not just that is he was proven to be lying about the location he took the images
really
from.
Oh God.
Well,
that was the beginning of the Lively moniker.
Anthony, you've just got to stop doing this.
So this is the actual evidence, the actual photograph, and if we click on the properties of it, we can see that when we go into the details of it, we can see that the, let's see, I hope it's there. There we go. The GPS data was recorded And when you put that into Google Earth, which I'm not going to do, but it takes you to here. So I don't see how there's a lie here. Can you show me what the lie is?
Okay, well, I don't know. So, I mean, I'm just going on what Jared's been saying.
Did you get your CPC yet?
No,
sorry. There's been an assertion that he lied by you, Jared. So you've just asserted categorically that he lied about his location. So let's go from there. Let's not change the subject.
It's been demonstrated by multiple people on multiple occasions. Anthony has a problem with...
not multiple people. You have just asserted it on this show. So, Jared, he's just shown the metadata with GPS locations. Are you going to retract your nonsense bullshit? Or are you going to keep asserting that other people have asserted it who aren't here to back up your nonsense?
Are you going to retract your bullshit? I'll retract mine if you retract yours.
Specifically, now, you have just asserted something within seconds of this conversation. Let's not try and sidetrack me with some other nonsense.
I will retract my bullshit when you retract yours.
So, are you not going to retract your shite about him being lying about his location?
I will retract my bullshit when you retract yours.
Right. Either you retract your statement or get the hell out of my hangout, you piece of shit.
Why don't we produce it? I mean, I'm not in the, but I mean, wouldn't it be better to just demonstrate you've got the evidence?
Give me a few minutes.
I'm demonstrating it right now. I don't see the problem.
Annoyed me twice in my own hangout, telling me how to run my show. Now he won't retract his nonsense bullshit. Telling me to retract mine first. How dare you, piece of shit. Get out.
Bye. Anyway. So here's the evidence of where I actually was. Would you like me to manually type it in, or would you trust me that it is where I say it is?
Well, I don't know anything about this, so I can't comment on this.
He's telling you now, dipshit. Pay attention. He's telling you right now.
All you need to know, Rumpus, is this is what we should see on a curved Earth, according to Mick West's calculator, and Mick West gave it me himself. This is what we actually see, and this is at 30 miles. It's double the distance of Soundly. So if we're seeing the curvature of the Earth on Soundly's, why are we not seeing double, like something similar on mine? Is it that I've got bendy like bullshit, or is it that something else is happening?
The horizon's at that red blob. Do we know what that red blob is?
We do.
You sure about that? Because as I understand, from what I have, the brief analysis I've been offered, it suggests you got that wrong, whatever that red blob was, and you got it in the wrong place.
Okay.
In fact, looking at
so
the
what about the rest of the tower?
Yeah, I mean, I can't do an analysis immediately, but that, obviously where that red blob's on the horizon, I mean, I don't know if that's the... So you're saying this is 30 miles, did you say? This
30 miles. Yeah, 30 miles. And let's open it with paint so we can scribble on it. And I'll show you what it's meant to look like, Bumpus, because I'll make it easy for you, because it's I can understand if you're coming into this blind, it's not going to be straightforward for you. But basically, let's get my scribe tool. And in fact, actually, I'll just do snipping tool. So
while you're doing that, I'll do a quick check on the. You said it's 30 miles, did you say, for this thing? Okay, I'll see what the drop is on that. I've got the hidden on that. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got a great deal of time. About 60 seconds left, I'm afraid.
Okay, 30 miles. And you say the observer height is what?
29, 27, 29.
So that divide that by 3, so make that 9 meters. Okay, you should have an obscured of 90 meters.
Sure. Now it's a 518 feet, so flick it over into Imperial.
90 meters is what? Sorry, that's 297 feet obscured.
Right, it's a 518 foot tower.
So that should leave 212 feet visible.
Which is right the way down to the base, the entrance for the pedestrians.
Hold on. The red blob there's clearly at the horizon, so we can't see that. We can't see below the red blob. We can't see the entrance.
Well, the tower it sits on isn't lit, or the block it sits on isn't lit. But we've only got 60 seconds. But I'd encourage you to try and find out why this is the way it is. If we live on a ball the size that Soundly shows it, because that was the point that was being made, and I'm showing that that's not consistent with what we see.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for mostly tuning in and hopefully sharing the show. And of course, a massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. Thank you to Dank as well for dropping $5 in the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.